Today for our daily cancellation, we have another viral TikTok video, which has garnered millions of views, thousands of comments, lots of discussion. It's the kind of video that on first blush, you might think that I would hate, and I sort of do, but it's not all bad. Here we have a Gen Z or a Zoomer by the name of Kat complaining about how much harder it is for young people today than it was for her parents and her grandparents' generation. And this message has, as you might expect, resonated quite a bit with her fellow Gen Zers on TikTok. Let's listen to some of this.
I'm about to graduate in May. A lot of the conversations I've been having with my parents lately have been surrounding what I'm going to do when I graduate, where I'm going to go. So my mom works for a company that's just like huge. And she said something to me yesterday that makes a lot of sense in regards to why it's so hard to find a job or even to find a salary right now that would be livable as someone who's like fresh out of college. She said that a lot of the people who are in charge of hiring there commonly say things like, college grads expect way too much, or I didn't have that much when I graduated. Then she says, yeah, when I first started, I made $36,000. And I was like, $36,000 today or $36,000 in 1980? So she made $36,000 starting off entry-level bank teller in 1980. Right now, out of college, I want to make $24 an hour. That would put me at $50,000 a year, which is equivalent to having a $16,500 salary in 1982. So I did some research. The average college grad in 2022 was making $55,260. In 1982, the average college grad was making $102,200 right out of college. So today, $26.50 an hour is 1982's $49 an hour. So this sentiment being held by boomers of, oh, well, they're just expecting too much. I just don't think they know what numbers they're talking about. Like, I think in their head, they're like, oh, I made $36,000 in 1980 and you're asking for $50,000 now? So then I dug a little deeper, started looking at housing, apartments. In 2022, the median selling price for a single-family house was $507,800. In 1980, that same price is equivalent to today's $223,202. In 2022, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment was $1,900. In 1982, that same number was equivalent to today's $737. Like, I actually think that boomers just can't conceptualize how vastly different these numbers are.
Okay, so we'll pause it here to acknowledge that she's basically correct about everything that she said so far. There's simply no denying that money had more value, more purchasing power 40 years ago than it does today. Jobs generally paid more when measured in today's dollars, and things didn't cost as much. In fact, by nearly every conceivable measure, economically, societally, culturally, the boomers inherited a better country than they'll leave behind for their children. They inherited prosperity. They leave stagnation and decline and debt and bankruptcy. They inherited a vibrant and patriotic culture. They leave us one that is rotten and degenerate. They inherited strong nuclear families, and they leave behind a long, sad trail of divorce and broken homes. As a generation, they failed to do the one single thing that every generation is supposed to do, which is to create a better world for their children. It doesn't have to be a utopia. It will never be that, but it should be better. A generation's only legacy is the country it leaves behind. And judging by that one and only real metric, the boomers have catastrophically failed. And they're not done either. They're still clinging to their positions of leadership in DC and media and corporate America. They've made for some of the worst political leaders this country has ever seen, and they refuse to go away. They refuse to ride off into the sunset and let us clean up the mess. This is a problem. It's all absolutely true. There's no getting around it. Boomers generally don't take this kind of criticism well, but that doesn't stop them from complaining bitterly about millennials and Gen Z. What they like to ignore, or maybe have somehow forgotten, is that millennials and Gen Z are their children and grandchildren. That's all part of their legacy. The millennial generation, my generation, we didn't sprout from the ground randomly like fungus. We didn't fall out of the sky like snowflakes. We were conceived and birthed and raised. And in many cases, raised poorly. In fact, raised may be an overstatement. Many millennials were less raised than they were merely sustained with food and toys and television and then sent out into the world with no moral or spiritual formation whatsoever. Now, I'm speaking in generalizations, of course, but they are accurate generalizations. And anyway, millennials fall victim to generalizations all the time. So perhaps it's time for some other generations to get a dose of that medicine. I think it's important to speak about the cataclysmic failures of the boomer generation and to hold them accountable for instilling in millennials every negative trait that they now so eagerly complain about. And that's important to point out, not to simply cast blame, but because it's not just or honest to give your children a destroyed culture, a bankrupted country, and then immediately blame them for it. Did you know that our friends at Genucel have upgraded their most popular package to feature their top-selling deep firming vitamin C serum plus ultra retinol moisturizer with natural retinol alternative? I bet you didn't know that, but now you do. Right now you can take advantage of this limited time package for 70% off. Why waste time and money to go get work done on your face when you can get Genucel skincare shipped right to your door? Genucel's secret is a family recipe for over 20 years that makes it safe for all skin types and perfect for both men and women. Made by a compounding pharmacist in small batches and is always safe, cruelty-free, and natural. You know, my hair and makeup artist, Cherokee, is a lot like a lizard. Any chance she gets, she'll be out laying on a rock, sunbathing in the middle of a desert somewhere. But to make sure she doesn't have skin that looks as cracked and dusty as the desert ground, she uses Genucel's wide range of products to keep her skin looking young. Go to Genucel.com/Walsh and try Genucel's most popular package for 70% off, featuring Genucel's Ultra Retinol and Genucel's Firming Serum as well. You get a complimentary Spa Essentials box with every package order, plus a free upgrade to priority shipping. You can get all of that. You can get it now, but you got to go to Genucel.com/Walsh. That's Genucel.com/Walsh. You know, if we're ever going to break this cycle and really combat the diseases of entitlement and materialism and selfishness, then we have to inspect the origins of the problem. Of course, the boomers no more created selfishness than did millennials or than did Gen Z, but they did create a culture that encourages and breeds this stuff. They created this culture by prioritizing material wealth and personal comfort and rapid gratification over everything, basically. They relied on the schools in Hollywood to take charge of their kids, while they amassed the kind of financial security their kids will never know. If a child is going to grow to be unselfish, he must learn to be a part of something bigger than himself, something that requires effort and self-denial and active sacrificial love. A strong nuclear family is such a thing. The church is such a thing. But the boomers, who sent the divorce rate skyrocketing into the stars, largely failed to give their kids the necessary foundation of a nuclear family. And they certainly didn't invest their kids in the church or faith or spirituality. Entertainment and material possessions served as replacements for both of those things. But entertainment and material possessions are self-serving by design. They will not help a child come out of himself. They will only send him spiraling deeper and deeper into the abyss of his own ego. Now, I have at this point strayed rather far from the point that the girl on TikTok was trying to make, but it's all related, and these are all valid points. But from there, she kind of goes somewhat off the rails, so let's keep listening.
And I think boomers just have such a hard time conceptualizing this because they never had to fight for jobs. They were at the upswing of technology. They were at the upswing of big business. Capitalism was booming. And then they look at us and they're thinking, entitled. And I'm not saying anyone's like in the right or in the wrong. It's not their fault. Like they just don't know. Literally just don't know what the I'm going to do when I graduate. And anytime I talk to my parents, both of which are boomers, they're like, stop having such high expectations. Also, I don't want to see any comments about, well, you should have majored in computer science or you should have majored in medicine. I think that if you go to college, you deserve to be able to make enough to live comfortably. I think if you don't go to college, you should be able to make enough to live comfortably. Regardless your major, regardless if you chose to go to college or not, you deserve to live comfortably. So anyone who says that your path to success should have looked differently, they're probably just not able to conceptualize the reality of today's job market and the reality of how much it costs to go to school nowadays.
Okay, we were doing so well, but then the Gen Z-itis kicked in and she started babbling about what she deserves. Now, I honestly don't know what a statement like, I deserve to live comfortably means. To deserve something is to earn it. It's to be worthy of it. Are we all worthy of a comfortable life? Have we earned it just by simply existing? And even if we have, even if we do all deserve comfort, whatever that means, what good does it do for you to just talk about how you deserve it? You can cry all you want about what you think you deserve, but to quote Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven and also Snoop from The Wire, deserve ain't got nothing to do with it. Now, maybe we all deserve to skip through fields of daffodils while gumdrops fall from the sky, but that's not what life has presented us, okay? That's not the reality. So maybe you deserve something other than the reality? I don't know what that means. You can't manifest what you think you deserve just by talking about it and making demands to the universe. So for all the younger people who lament the state of things and the fact that in many ways it would have been easier to have been born 40 years ago, we might just put it this way. You're right. You get a raw deal. It's not fair. I don't think you deserve a comfortable life necessarily. Life is simply an uncomfortable thing much of the time. But you do deserve a better country and a better culture and a better economy than the one that you're getting. Okay. Now what? We've established that. Okay. It's like, it shouldn't be this way. This should not be the culture that you are inheriting. It shouldn't be. But okay, what's your next move? What do you do now? The problem with people in the younger generations is that they correctly diagnose many of these issues, and then they use that diagnosis as an excuse to give up before the game even starts. They decide not to put in the effort at work. They decide not to work hard. They decide to essentially drop out of the dating scene and give up on romantic relationships and marriage and family and everything. They retreat behind phones and screens. And this is just not the way to solve any of these problems. It's the same kind of criticism that I have of the red pill manosphere types who correctly point out all the ways the system is stacked against men, but then they offer no real solution except for a full-scale retreat, recommending that men give up on family life, marriage, legacy, their own bloodline. That's not a strategy. That's despair. And you can't give in to despair, especially at a young age. So, yes, you may graduate from college and realize that you wasted a lot of time and money on a useless degree. You got scammed into going to college when you really didn't need to go, and you plunged yourself into debt for something that might not do you any good at all. That's also really unfair. It shouldn't have happened, but it did. You may struggle to attain financial security. You may not be able to afford a house or many of the things that your parents could afford at your age. All of that may be the case. These are the obstacles that you face. Every generation has its own. Okay, it's not perfect for anybody. And these are yours. The goal is to succeed and thrive in spite of them. That must be the goal. Otherwise, there is no point. You have to get to work either way. And obsessing over how unfair everything is and how you aren't being handed what you think you deserve will not accomplish anything. You have to work for it one way or another. Otherwise, you are today canceled. And that'll do it for this portion of the show. As we move over to the members block, hope to see you there. If not, talk to you tomorrow. Godspeed.